We're talking about usability. So web usability is the ease of use of a website. So some broad goals of usability are the presentation of information and choices in a clear and concise way, a lack of ambiguity, and the placement of important items in appropriate areas. For a website, usability literally determines if your website will be successful or not. If your site is difficult to use, they fail. So have y'all went to like a website before and you're like, where is the, and then you just get so frustrated. You're like, I'm out, like, I don't want to deal with this, right? If your homepage doesn't tell a user what your company is about or what you can do for them, they'll bail. If they get lost in your site, if the text is hard to read, if the navigation is inconsistent, again, they're out. There are many other websites available in your category and a user will bail on yours. Knowing this, if you don't make your website easy to use. So often websites are designed with a focus on fancy features and flashy interfaces. That is most definitely not the case anymore. These approaches to site design forget the most important part of the process, which is the user. So way back when I was in school, building websites was kind of like a new thing. My college had just touched upon offering like a course in web design, but making them look really cool and, you know, all these cool little features was where it was at because it was very new. But nowadays, accessibility is absolutely the most important part. If your site's not accessible to the masses, well, first and foremost, it's illegal now to not have a site that's accessible and not responsive, so desktop to mobile. But you also just lose your users, right? Stephen Krung, author of Don't Make Me Think, making sure that something works well, that a person of average or even below average ability and experience can use the thing for its intended purpose without getting hopelessly frustrated. Usability Professionals Association, approach that incorporates direct user feedback throughout the development cycle in order to reduce costs and create products and tools that meet users' needs. So from here, we've got your user experience, which is the much bigger piece of the pie here. Then we've got our visual design, we've got typography. In there comes your UI design, which is your interaction, your visual, etc. So just a little visual chart here that you guys can reference later. First law of usability, don't make me think. So some major components of usability. Learnability. So how easy is it for users to accomplish basic tasks the first time they encounter the design? The efficiency of the site. Once users have learned the design, how quickly can they perform tasks? So tasks, for example, can you please find me the apples on the 14O's website? And if someone can't find it, they're like, screw this, I'm going to Sobeys. Memorability, when users return the design after a period of not using it, how easily can they reestablish proficiency? How many errors do users make? How severe are these errors? How easily can they recover from the errors? So when you say where are the apples, if they totally can't find it and they're like, oh, it's under the fruit section, then you're like, okay, well, not so bad, but maybe we can find a better way to put apples front and center, for example. Satisfaction, how pleasant is it to use the design? So are we really working hard to like visually see our type, figure out what it is? All of those things come into play. Usability is an absolute necessity for your site. Poor usability results in frustrated users, visitors leaving, the biggest, most important part. Reduction of repeat visits. So maybe you're like, I'm just going to push through and buy that thing from this website, but hell no, I'm not going back again. Decrease productivity and then higher support costs. So if these things aren't, if you don't have all of this usability nailed down from the get-go, so all of that testing done from the beginning, and then if you have to then go back and change things at a later time, you're now paying for more development. Now your developers have to go and backtrack and adjust things, and that could be a big domino effect as well. So now, you know, you change one thing, which then messes up a whole lot of things. So the aspects of design to consider for usability. So your navigation, is it easy to understand and consistent on all pages, which is incredibly important. You never want your navigation to jump from one spot to another. In some instances, I don't want to say never, but it has to be done really, really well in order for that to be quite effective. It's kind of like the principles of design. You can break those principles and you can break those rules, but you got to be damn good at them before you could be good at breaking them, if that makes sense. Multimedia context, is it unnecessary? Does the multimedia aid in the comprehension of the product, or are there subtitles? So lots of bells, whistles, videos, all that stuff is really great. But if someone is hearing impaired, they might not be able to understand it, and they think it's now useless content to them because they have no idea what it is. Textual content, are the font sizes appropriate? Is it written in a language a user of this site will understand? Too much, too little, etc. Interaction elements necessary, easy to understand, and are they easy to understand what exactly that they do? And then big one here, which is our accessibility. Can the site be used by anyone? So font sizes, contrast, alt tags, etc. So the benefits of usability. So obviously now we're going to increase our productivity, decrease training and support costs. So, we don't need to train people on how to use this. Just checking my dog. Increase sales and revenues, and then reduce maintenance costs. And then your customers are going to be real happy. So to improve it, so user-centered approach, we are always thinking about our user. So that's where we start by with our, like we're going to be touching upon next week. So who are your users? So that's your target. Those are your personas. What are they trying to do on your site? Number 3 or 4 here, as I just said, creating personas, prototyping, as I explained earlier, and then test. So usability testing measures the quality of a user experience when interacting with a web product, and how well users can learn and use the products to achieve their goals. How satisfied are they with those tasks and placement, for instance. So the goals of that is determine if the website product is ready to launch. So if everyone has a problem trying to find the shopping cart on your website, then obviously we need to probably do some more work to put in a place that is more common for our users before we go ahead and launch. So identifying those problems, get an overall sense of how good or bad things are, see if things are getting better across iterations. So from our first version to our second version, are things looking a little bit better? Should we backtrack to a further version, etc.? And then help convince management or others of the need to fix something. So sometimes when you go to a company and I say, you guys need to pay me X amount of dollars because I need to fix your website to make it more usable, they might say like, oh, it's totally fine. I don't have any problems with it. Well, he might not have problems with it, but if you show research for 50 people that can't find that specific thing, that shopping cart, for instance, then obviously there's a problem. The proof's in the pudding. It's right there in the research. So how do we plan our usability tests? So we create our tasks, we find participants, we conduct our tests, we analyze the results, and then we think of a recommendation as to how that could become easier. Or perhaps if it was good, then there are no recommendations. So we have our task list. So I'm going to show you guys, this is where we're going to now be slowly introducing our next assignment, or our first assignment, I should say. Create a list of tasks or questions that are typical, that a typical user should be able to complete in an hour. What we're going to be doing, it'll be completed in way less time. They shouldn't be too simple, nor they should be too difficult. So it shouldn't just be, your 10 tasks are find everything on that's going to actually be located on the website or on the homepage. You want to kind of like dig in through the site a little bit to get a little bit further in there. Don't tell the user where to click. So one of the biggest things is you never want to stand on their shoulder if you're telling them to find the apples or find the shopping cart. If I designed it, I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, Brenton, find the shopping cart. And if he's looking around and can't find it, I'm going to say, it's in the top right. That would obviously be pointless, right? Don't walk the users around every step. Leading a user too much will provide a biased and less useful result. So you kind of gotta let them go. And following their body language, seeing what they're, maybe the looks they have in their faces will also tell you how difficult things are. So instead of saying click the small checkbox, etc., You just say, add a GPS to your rental car, for instance. So have a correct solution. So if you ask a user to find a rental car location nearest to a hotel address, there should be a correct choice. Obviously, you don't want to push them in an area that's not going to work or that's not going to actually physically exist. And then this makes the task more straightforward for the user and allows you to more easily know if a task was or wasn't successful. Make them realistic. So a poor task would just say, if they say direct them to the Nike website, purchase a pair of running shoes. That's easy. They can just go and select anyone. But you're going to get a little, or you're going to get better results if you get more specific as to what you need. You would need them to buy a pair of orange Nike running shoes that are under $40, and then you need them to select shipping from a certain amount. Make the task actionable. So instead of saying, want to go see a movie Sunday afternoon, go to this website, tell me where you click next. You're going to actually specifically tell them to go to that site, find a movie you'd be interested in seeing it at a specific time. So Sunday afternoon, for instance. Again, as we touched upon earlier, so avoiding clues and describing the next steps. So you don't want to tell them exactly where to go. You just want to, or exactly, like you want to see the results of your midterm exam, go to the website, sign in, tell me where you will, et cetera, et cetera. You just say, look up the results of your midterm exam and then see how hard or how easy it is for them to navigate to that. Record your observations. Could the user complete the task? Did they need help? Track how much time it took them, note any assembly box, overall observations and commentary, and then always write down their comments, and then debrief the user allows them to speak their mind. When you kind of opened up to them and you say like, listen, man, like it was really difficult. Did you, like I couldn't find anything. The type was too small, this and that. So just offer them, a moment to speak freely. Post-test usability survey. So post-survey questions to ask: have you visited the site before? Do you think the purpose of the, what do you think the purpose of the site is? Did you find what you're looking for? Was there something you were missing or expected to see, etc.? And then post-survey question to ask: have you, oops, I went through that just 1 second ago. Oh, there's just a few more. I'm not going to bother. I feel as though I'm losing you guys. And then we go ahead and we analyze the results. So create and complete a recommendation sheet when testing is finished. Recommendations should mention the task, the source. We'll go through this. I have a little chart for you guys to reference for that. We're not going to go to apple.ca to conduct our usability test. We're going to be going somewhere else. And just, again, do a little exercise around that. Is there any questions? I know that was probably a bit of a mouthful, and I feel as though some people probably went a little brain dead numb on that one, but any questions?